Well, I got it on. I was able to use my T-Max torque holder. It's not perfect, but it got it down to where I could get the 43 pounds torque on that nut there. So that part's done. Let me get the belt and stick that on. I'm trying to decide whether I want to change out the oil in the gearbox or not. Right now it's got engine oil in it, the same Rotella Triple T that I use in the engine. I want to check online this afternoon and see if all the newer CN 250 engines, the Chinese varieties, if they're using a 80-90 gear oil. I think people have switched over to gear oil. I don't know why they don't, use it, but Honda had called out in 1988 to use the 30 weight. So looking at the lettering on the belt, I don't see anything that says one way or the other, forward or backwards, direction. I don't know why. It's just a belt that goes either way. It may take a set over time, so I'm going to have it with the readable part, the Hondo Bando out here. So, okay. And then I got my pulley here. I'm going to see if I can drive the belt down farther. I can do that off camera to open up the driven pulley so that this will get up a little higher. Well, I was finding is if I get my fingers in here and kind of press down as I press on this part here, I can probably could have torqued this all the way down with the belt out, because I've got this thing all the way down. I don't think it's going to go. And then I got the plate on because it's really difficult if you don't compress the belt back in here, at least down an inch or so, to get this thing lined up to where it's on the splines where you can get the nut and everything. And so now it's all up in there. And maybe I'll stick a clamp on here just to make it loose up in there. Okay. Now I'm going to have to, I think I could hold with the T-Max tool again, because I got to go into another 43 pounds of torque, and I don't, I'll have to use an extension. Let me come back. Well, I got it in there. The T-Max 4-blade side will fit in here to where I've got 4 nuts on each individual fan. You don't want to break these things off, but I got it to where I got my 43 pounds. So that's on. So let me decide whether I'm going to change the oil while I've got the gear open here. I need to run it up a little bit to make sure it goes up and down correctly. So, and then gas up the office. Let me clean up some of the tools and put them away. We'll come back. I was nervous about setting the intake and exhaust clearances, and so I pulled the plug out again and got my brake flashlight. Just be absolutely certain that I had that on top dead center, and I went ahead and moved them outboard. Once you loosen them up, you move them out till they stop, and then back in 1 notch from where they stopped at. Just not force them, but just let them go to where they stop, and then check where the lines are, and then move it back 1 notch. Well, that's 4/1000ths. So I just checked it again. I had them set right the last time I did it, so I feel comfortable now about firing this thing up again. So we'll do that now. Go ahead and fire this up now. And reset up here. Okay, we're cooking with gas. Yeah, literally, with the fumes. Okay, let me button this up. Well, as you can see, the scoot's back together. I've been riding it. I just came back from riding it, and I did change out the differential oil. I got rid of the 30 weight and put in 80, 90 weight. I had some left over that I use on the T-Max. That's GL4, GL5, and mil spec rated. And so I put that in there, and it runs a lot better now with the and quieter since I adjusted the valves. And the heat, you know, I just come back from riding and it's still. It's a little bit warm, but it's been going slow speed, so the clutch has been activated. It's not like I've been riding for a long time. I would like to, the next time I get the, tip it up here, next time I get that hatch, that cover off, I'd like to see if there's some way that I could add maybe some holes, cooling fins to it, either on the front side or the back side. There's a baffle in there. I'm thinking maybe I can remove that to get a little more air circulation in there. It comes in the front through that filter, and then it goes out the back end. There's a little shelf that the air goes over, but I'd like to get a little cooler. I think that's why the ruckus people with their hot rod engines leave that cover off to keep the clutch cover cool. So, and also let me reset up here. I added something. I added an old 35 millimeter bag that I don't use anymore because my camera is film, and nobody uses film anymore. But it makes a great holder. It goes around the keyhole here because it's got that one hand strap, and then I can keep my water bottle in here and other things. And down here I've got in the little pocket I've got my first aid kit. So it comes in handy. It's out of the way, and it gives you a little more besides this, it gives you a little more room, especially for the water bottle. There's no way you're going to get a water bottle up in there. And there's nothing under the seat unless you carry it on a case, a top case in the back. But I figure I already had it, and it's a lot cheaper than a top case. So that will wrap up this episode of replacing the clutch drive and stuff like that. Probably the next thing I'm going to do is source out some rear shocks. I know Mitch had the thing on there where he took some old CB 350 or CL 350 shocks, rear shocks, but the ones I've been seeing are a little longer because the Elite has about 12 3/4 inches hole to hole between the top and the bottom, and the 350s I believe are like 13 1/4, which puts the rear wheel down on really close to the ground. So if you're on, you know, softer dirt, or if you're not on a hard spot with the center stand, the rear wheel is going to be digging into the dirt unless you weld some sort of I could do that too. I could add some extensions to the bottom of the legs on the center stand, and that might be the easiest spot. But I've seen some shocks online that were like 320 millimeter hole to hole, so that would put me in range. So I have to go looking at those again to see whether or not they're actually any good. They were like $90 for a pair, maybe $100 for a pair of them, but you do get the pogo effect on the rear end when you go over something. I don't notice the front end pushing out too much, but yeah. And I did notice somebody come off the side here. You can see just a little bit of discoloration on the edge of the tire, the very edge, which, depending on the air pressure, may rub against that the dog bone inside there. So it doesn't show up on the other side. So it's specific to that
dog bone back in. Where the hell are we at here? Oh, there we go. Back in here. I might take the front wheel off and file that down. So, oh well. Later. Upward and onward. Really enjoying riding this old scoot. I enjoy it more than bigger bikes. I guess one last thing before we go away. I went and got a Battery Tender Junior for the Scoot. I got tired of swapping it out with the T-Max, so both of them have their own Battery Tender Juniors now, so I can keep them plugged in and batteries charged up all the time. So, see you guys later.